Yeah.
But moving along here, an interesting pickup for Kentucky as Mikey's Grace is now a Wildcat. The former South Dakota pass rusher had a breakout season in the FCS level this past year. He's going to have a couple years of eligibility because he was a redshirt sophomore. 64 tackles, 18 and a half tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks, 3 pass breakups, a couple forced fumbles, and had a long recovery for touchdown as well. And D, when you look at some of these guys who are transferring up from the FCS level, the question when you watch some of them is, do they have the size, do they have the speed? Everyone's there at that level for a certain reason. But with this guy, he looks like he has that size and that speed, as I'm going to pull up some of the clips here. But, man, he's moving for his size.
Yeah, this is watching this guy's film, and I watched a little bit. He has a lot out there, both clips, so and just watching him move. He looks like an SEC player playing in the at the FCS level, and was always been a separator for SEC teams and the rest of FBS. Forget FCS. Honestly, separator from them and the rest of Power 4 historically has been the defensive line and the ability for SEC teams to recruit NFL defensive linemen in waves with certain body types, certain physical specs. Kentucky fans know that because Kentucky's had some great defensive linemen over their history, including this year, Deion Walker, Josh Allen, one of the best in the NFL. So they've had defensive linemen all over the place. This is a guy, again, you watch these clips, flexible, twitchy. He changes direction well. Just looking at the body type, he's got that big lower body, which he uses to get under, get under offensive tackles and push him back. There you see him. Look at the closing speed here. I mean, again, just the physical. This is not like a try-hard guy. This guy who physically looks like an SEC player. It's interesting because he's not like a grades kid. Sometimes you'll see, maybe a guy that signs with a big school out of high school and he drops to the FCS level. That was not this guy. I mean, he was FCS the whole way and just ended up being a late bloomer. We talk about SEC, chose Kentucky over Mississippi State and Georgia.
Look at him standing up here.
Oh, yeah. You see him standing up. You see him in the 4-point stance. You see him all over the place. And he was, 64 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks, 3 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, fumble recovery touchdown, FCS All-America. The production is outstanding. But to me, the production is nice, but it's the traits. When you talk about moving from the FCS level to the SEC, I think the traits are here with this guy, which is why, again, look at the schools that are recruiting him. Kentucky, Mississippi State, which has had really good defensive linemen over the course of their run here. First rounders. Georgia. I mean, what do you have to say about Georgia's defensive line? So these are schools that know what defensive line look like. Obviously, Mississippi State, maybe not lately, but this guy I think will fit right in. He'll have to earn his spot, but when you look at this position translating, it's really not about production. You know from the NFL draft, Pete, you've recruited guys at this level. You've recruited guys that are maybe late bloomers, including one of your first-round pick clients, Titus Howard. So it very much is about the physical traits more than anything if you're projecting someone like this to go to the NFL or to go, in this case, to the SEC, a significant step up, even though he's coming from a really, really good football program with the South Dakota Coyotes.
And if you're a Kentucky fan, you're losing, of course, who is a former big recruit, Keyshawn Silver. You lose him on the inside, but you add David Gusta from Washington State, a guy who's 6'3", 302, not a huge D tackle, not the same player as Silver, but productive and was wanted by other SEC schools. You're adding Cameron Olds at edge, also from Kent State, who was a 4-star transfer. He was actually rated a little bit higher than Mikey's Grace as a transfer, 6'4", 245. So you pair Olds with Grace off the edge there. You add Gusta as well on the interior. You got to feel pretty good about what you've added here to the defensive line if you're a Wildcats fan.
Yeah, look, what's Mark Stoops known for? In my book, Pete, I don't know if you agree, evaluation, right? Yeah. This guy's one of the best evaluators in the country. You see it with Kentucky consistently producing NFL talent. You're seeing now at corner. They'll be producing an NFL talent. You've seen that defensive line consistently. You've seen that at running back, right? Even wide receiver, right? They lost them, but Dane Key and Berrien Brown, 2 of the highest ranked transfers on the market. Dane Key going to Nebraska, Berrien Brown going to LSU. Quarterback-wise, obviously their quarterback situation, pretty unique with Brock Vandagriff retiring, but Will Levis, NFL quarterback from there. Devin Leary, both transfers, but guys that ended up getting a chance at the next level. So Kentucky knows how to pick them. And offensive line, they've had a few guys go pro. I think this is a guy that could potentially be a pro just from a body type perspective, watching him against FCS competition. But as we know, it's going to be, what's the SEC slogan?
Just means more.
It just means more. So we will see how it looks on that level of competition. But I was quite frankly surprised when I started watching this kid move around because he looked a lot bigger and more athletic than I expected.